My mother's mom, they talked to me like I was an adult.
Right.
As a child. So I knew about alcoholism, mental illness disorders. They didn't hide anything from me.
At 4 and 5, you're looking for your dad's stash. 8 and 9, your family is talking to you about addiction and all of this. At what time were you a little girl?
I never was.
Let's be honest about recovery.
The rewards, the challenges.
Let's talk about our failures.
We are flawed people, after all.
Let's challenge the stigmas that weigh us down.
Because while most of us are looked at,
few of us are seen.
Let's talk about addiction.
And how Christ overcomes our weaknesses.
Because we are loved.
Because we are loved.
Because we are loved.
We are loved.
We are
because
loved.
We are loved.
Hi, my name is Josie, and this is my story. I grew up in an alcoholic and drug addict household that ultimately led to me using as well. I ended up homeless and on the streets and found myself at the Home of Grace for Women. I knew at that point, by radical faith, if I could just touch the hem of his garment, that I would be healed.
Hey there, and welcome back to the Jesus Loves Addicts podcast. I'm Kathryn, and today my co-host is Ross.
Hello.
Josie is who we're going to be speaking with today. Josie is a 40-year-old woman who was a chronic alcoholic who finally hit her bottom about 5.5 years ago. Today, we're going to hear from her exactly what happened and how you got to where you are. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me.
All right, so you currently are living actually in Moss Point.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Where does your story start?
Well, I'm from Perry, Arkansas.
Okay.
I was born in Little Rock, raised in Perry, went to Perryville High School there my whole life till...
It's very small?
Very small.
Okay.
So it's like 334 people.
Oh, yeah, okay. I know I heard of Little Rock. I was like, I don't know what
So
Perry
this is outside of Little Rock, like near it?
Yes.
Okay.
It is north of Little Rock.
Okay.
Yeah, so farmland... there's not really much to do there. We rode horses
Okay.
a lot. We did rodeos and showed horses and raised goats and chickens and, small town farm life pretty
Country
much.
life, yeah.
Okay.
Yes, very small.
All right, so how many people in your family?
There is me and my brother, my mom, dad, and then I have two brothers that my parents adopted.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Was God or Christianity a part of your family?
Not immediate family.
Okay.
My grandmother introduced God to me.
Okay.
She lived right there with y'all?
Next
close?
door.
Oh, okay.
Yes, very
Really
close. Walking distance.
Okay. So tell us about your childhood.
My childhood was very dysfunctional. My dad was alcoholic before I was born. So I was born into abuse of my mother. My father was very emotionally unstable. He was angry, and alcohol only made it worse. He never, in all the fighting and the chaos, he never abused me in any way whatsoever, but I was witness to all the abuse towards my mother.
Physical abuse?
Yes. Okay. Mental, emotional, verbal, yes.
Okay.
And your brother, I meant to ask, what's the age difference with you?
5 years.
Oh, who's older?
Me.
You're older.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So you think your father had some mental illness going on?
Well, there was diagnosis of OCD, mainly, but I think it more so was wounds.
Okay. And he would just medicate with the alcohol?
Yes. Okay. Marijuana, alcohol, cocaine. So it was almost like it was familiar in my house. It wasn't accepted, but it was familiar. To find cocaine straws under the couch seats, things like that.
Okay.
My mom would ask us to help her find, Dad's stash to try to get rid of it while he was at work. And so we were, we
really young looking for it.
Yes.
So she wasn't drinking or doing drugs?
No.
Okay.
Never did.
Okay. So from that, about how old were you when that was going on?
Well, my last memories, or longest memories was, 4, 5 years old.
Okay.
And remembering all the chaos and the fighting during Christmases and any type of parties, or if we wanted to go anywhere and leave the house, it was a fight.
It was always.
Yeah, always a fight.
So it seems like if you were helping your mom trying to like find his stash or whatever, like you said, she wasn't hiding it from you. Like you were fully aware of the issues that your dad was having.
Yeah, at 8 years old, I knew about marijuana. I knew that, I remember feeling remorse at 7, 8 years old of sadness in my house, of like feeling the sadness from my father and using.
Over what you didn't have, or just over what he was missing?
Over what he was missing and what I didn't have.
Okay.
Almost like I knew the sadness I felt was how he felt and due to his using.
Right.
Yeah.
Did he ever seek help?
No. I mean, doctor help. They'd put him on Prozac and it made it worse, or, no, not in there. No.
Do you remember the first time you drank?
Yes.
How old?
10.
And was this at home?
No. Okay. It was my friend of my mother's.
Okay.
Yeah. So my mom trusted her. They were lifelong friends. And she moved in from Texas and was staying at my house, and she would give me wine coolers and when I would go stay the night with her, so she could sit on the couch and pass out drinking.
Do what she wanted because she had a babysitter.
Yes, and I didn't know that.
Right. Well, you were 10.
Yeah, so that's where it started.
Okay.
I think.
So tell me more.
Well, the alcohol started at 10, but I felt a relief even at 10 years old. Started then with friends, smoking cigarettes. I came from a house of chaos, and so major rejection, deep trauma and wounds of rejection from my father. And so it even spilled out into school, being rejected by peers.
Yeah.
And being rejected, by certain crowds. I was never really a person to fit into one crowd. I could fit in anywhere.
Anywhere.
Yeah. So, but the crowd I chose was the crowd that I could get things from. As far as
it was not the healthy crowd.
No, it was the bad crowd. I fell into the bad crowd very early. So 11, I was smoking cigarettes. By 12 years old, I was with a bad crowd, and then bad things started happening to me at 12.
Don't you feel, or do you feel like part of that ending up finding the familiar with the bad crowd would be the chaos that you were used to seeking out anyway? You lived in it.
Yes.
Do you feel like you ever had rejection, not from your mom as the same rejection from your dad, but when your mom is so focused on trying to help him or trying to worry about him, do you ever feel like there wasn't a lot of attention for you and your brother? Like, did she have enough left to give at all times?
She gave it more to us than him was the problem.
Okay.
So I think that's where his anger stemmed from, because she would be so mad at him, and a wall came up between them two that she focused on us.
Okay.
So my mom did her best to be a nurturer.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And it made him angry.
Yeah.
So I got a couple questions. First, I'm sure that you loved your dad, right?
Yeah.
Was there a part of you that kind of wanted your mom to leave him?
Yes.
Yeah. So that's a painful place to be. Yeah.
No. They're still together. Excuse me. Okay. Yep, they're still together.
second question would be, I know you're young, but did you have any idea about the potential genetically with alcoholics and children of alcoholics that you probably had a greater chance of becoming an alcoholic because of your father? Like, did you?
I knew that.
You did.
And that was because my mother, my Nana, my mother's mom, they talked to me like I was an adult.
Right.
As a child. So I knew, genetics. I knew about alcoholism, mental illness disorders. They didn't hide anything from me. They didn't shelter me from what's going on. I always knew.
Do you wish that you were sheltered? Because like when you said that, it sounds like you kind of missed out on a childhood.
I did.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking. You, on one hand, I believe we should educate our children, but on one, you were playing, if they talk to you like you were always an adult, at what time were you ever a child? At 4 and 5, you're looking for your dad's stash. 8 and 9, your mom and your grandmother and your family is talking to you about addiction and all of this. At what time were you a little girl?
I never was.
What about your brother?
My brother, when he started coming up, things started changing. It was better. And maybe I should say at 4 and 5, I was not helping look for a stash. I was 14.
Okay.
I needed to clear that up. I know that we kind of moved around a little bit.
That's okay.
Yeah. Because not at 4 and 5. 4 and 5 is when I remember the most of. That's when the abuse started.
Okay. All right.
That I remember.
Okay.
My brother, he doesn't remember all the things that I do even now because we've talked about it.
Yeah.
Dad was different. By the time my brother started getting a little older, my dad had stopped drinking. There was still recreational things going on, but he wasn't drinking. But there was still the fighting and still the chaos in the house. But he took to him. Yeah.
How did that help with your rejection?
It didn't.
Your dad took to your brother, or your brother took to your dad?
My dad took to my brother, like living vicariously through him. My brother grew up into sports as a basketball player, literally won national awards and went to college, played college basketball.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Got a biblical degree, did really good things. And my dad was fixated so bad that it was almost toxic for my brother to deal with.
Yeah.
But he went to him, and I felt
more rejection.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
Everywhere you turned.
Of course.
School, home.
Everywhere.
Friendships, all of those things.
Everywhere.
When you said that you remember things that your brother doesn't, because you experienced it differently, did that ever create issues with y'all's communication, or have y'all been able to maintain a pretty healthy relationship?
We have been able to maintain a healthy relationship because I chose it. Yeah. I chose, no matter how I felt, to stay true to my brother. None of it was his fault, ever. I was jealous. I was envious, but I never let him see it, and I never spoke of it, and I never let it come between us.
Okay.
But so the anger and everything went to my father.
Yeah. Went
toward my mom, too, at a certain time, and went towards my father, but not him.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So we're back in, did you have some?
Well, I was just going to say, so you started drinking.
Yes.
And it was kind of off to the races, like pretty much immediately?
No, here and there.
Okay.
When I was around it, because there wasn't any more drinking in my home, by the time I was 12, 13.
You said 12?
12, 13, 14 years old. I was hanging around with the wrong crowd and sneaking around, going to parties and whatever they had, that's what I was doing.
Right. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't really addiction yet. It was just hanging out with the wrong people.
Right. But, cocaine at 14.
Being around stuff you shouldn't. Right. Exactly.
Right. Yes. Yes.
How were your grades and things like that in school?
They were not good. I didn't have good grades. I don't really know exactly how I passed through grade school.
Me either. They were just like, that's the next teacher.
We're just going to let him.
We're going to push him on.
That one right there is the next one's problem.
Right.
And that's,
pretty much how.
They had done labeled me ADHD and
all the things.
Yes. Sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did your parents ever take you to a doctor? Did you do medicine, anything like that?
No.
Were you ever getting in trouble with going to parties and things like that? Like, what did your getting in trouble look like at home?
If I did get in trouble or if I got caught, it was spankings.
Okay.
Pretty tough ones.
Your dad or your mom?
My mom. My dad never had. My dad has never spanked me.
Okay.
It was my mom. Yeah. My mom. She was pretty tough. And it was out of fear. I understand those things now, but then I didn't. No, it was, a leather belt or her hand or grounding and long-term groundings.
Long-term?
Like 3 months.
Yeah.
And
to a teenager, it feels like
forever.
It's forever.
Yeah.
I'm not going to have any friends when I get off of this restriction.
Yes. And restriction was all chores. The whole time. No going anywhere. I could barely if I could get to grandma's by some manipulation or coaxing her, that's how I would kind of get some relief.
And you said growing up on a farm, your chores were probably different than some.
Hard chores.
They were real chores.
Work.
Real chores.
They were work. Yeah, those were real chores.
I was hauling hay at 8 and learning how to drive a truck, a standard, at 10. And hauling trucks and trailers down dirt roads. So I learned how to drive and
work. You said it.
Yeah.
We cleaned barns and we had horses and we worked. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, it was work. Before school, after school.
So what was high school like?
Well, high school, I was 12, starting in 7th grade, and high school was horrible.
Okay.
High school was, everybody, high schools, they're mean. Mm-hmm. And with wounds I had, I was always in fights. I got tired of people, kind of bullying me, and so by the time I was 13, 14 years old, you didn't look at me a certain type of way. I was flying over a desk.
Ready to fight.
For real. Yeah. It was bad. I hated high school.
Mm.
You mentioned bullying and you'd, finding a place that you actually felt like you fit. Did you ever feel like you fit?
No.
Like really fit all the way through high school?
No. Even my best friend would backstab me and turn other people who maybe started to like me away from me.
Yeah.
No, it was never a comfortable spot.
Right. Did you have anyone that you did trust or confide in? Like, what did that look like for you, Josie?
My mom.
Your mom.
Mm-hmm.
And other than that, it sounds like it was really lonely. So after high school, you finished high school. So
yeah, I kind of started leaving the junior high days. I was really wanting to turn around, and things started getting better. I started wanting to get into activities like dance. I did dance and cheerleading, and so that requires your grades to come up. So I really started applying myself.
You had something to work towards.
Yes, I started getting goals.
Okay.
Yeah, about 8th grade. So I started getting better grades, started applying myself, and, still hanging out with the same people here and there, but really I started leaving them behind.
Okay.
Mm-hmm, about that point.
About 8th, 9th grade?
Yes.
All right.
So about 10th grade, I met my first husband. in 10th grade. We didn't marry till after high school. But we met, when I was like 15.
Okay.
So that really changed my whole life. That's when.
Getting into a relationship.
Yep.
Did it fix something for the time being?
It did.
All right. So
I thought it did. But, at that time, yes, it did.
It did fix something right then.
I had someone I could trust, someone who comforted me, someone who
chose you.
Yes.
That didn't reject you.
Correct.
It fixes. I think that's why we have a lot of problems with relationships that we don't identify, because they definitely do the same thing drugs and alcohol do.
Yeah. And then
Until they don't.
Until they don't.
And then the drugs and alcohol come back.
Yeah. Or never leave. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to take a moment to recognize a major podcast sponsor. Today's episode is brought to you by America's Thrift Stores, your go-to option for decluttering and giving back. If you have a closet bursting at the seams or a garage that's seen better days, we've got the perfect solution for you.
That's right. America's Thrift Stores makes it easy to clear out the clutter and make a positive impact in your community. Whether you're cleaning out your wardrobe, downsizing your living space, or just looking to give back, America's Thrift Stores has you covered.
And here's the best part. You've got options. Schedule a hassle-free home pickup, drop off your items at one of their convenient donation sites, or swing by an America's Thrift Store to donate in person. No matter which way you choose, you're making a difference.
Absolutely. Every donation you make to America's Thrift Stores directly benefits charities in your area, such as the Home of Grace and other fantastic organizations dedicated to helping those in need.
For example, donations made to America's Thrift Stores in southern Mississippi help the Home of Grace provide support and assistance to individuals facing drug and alcohol addiction. Your contributions make a real impact on their mission to provide freedom from addiction through Christ-centered recovery. So not only are you decluttering your life, but you're also helping build a stronger and more supportive community.
It's truly a double blessing. So what are you waiting for? Clean out that closet, clear out that garage, and make a positive difference in your community by donating to America's Thrift Stores.
Visit America's Thrift Stores online to schedule a home pickup, locate a donation site near you, or get directions to one of their store locations.
America's Thrift Stores, where giving back never goes out of style.
So 10th grade, you get into a serious relationship.
Yes.
Tell us.
Well, his name was Gary, and we met at a party. Went to the same high school, so everybody knew each other. I didn't know him. We met at a party and become friends, and after that, we just started dating. We dated all through high school.
So 2 years to 12th grade.
Mm-hmm.
And then, were y'all drinking?
We were smoking. He didn't do anything, but he did smoke weed, smoke marijuana. He was very smart, genius. He all the teachers would have him be the tutor, and that he was very well looked up to.
Okay,
had a very good reputation. So things in my life really changed.
I was thinking
there was things really changed. There was more respect.
You weren't unseen.
Mm-mm. He was a very good person, and so things just got better. Grades got better. I was doing cheerleading and sports. I was with him as much as I could be.
Right, he had become safe.
Yes, yes.
What about your family? Did they like him?
Yes.
Yeah,
they liked him.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So y'all graduated. Am I missing?
Yeah, he graduated a year before me, and actually enlisted into the military. So he went into the military after his training, or before his training. We had gotten married after I graduated. So he waited 1 year, went to college, then decided, I'm going to go in the military. I can get my college paid for. They offered him all these good things. So before I was 19, I got married. May of 2003.
Okay.
So correct me if I'm wrong. That's the Iraq War is going on.
Mm-hmm.
Correct? And he joined the military? Okay. Which branch did he join?
Army.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. He was satellite communications.
Okay.
Right.
So was he deployed?
No.
Okay.
During his AIT training, he failed a drug test.
For pot?
Yep.
So I don't know how that works. What happens?
Well, they dishonorably discharge you and send you home. It's a process.
Okay.
Yeah, there's no saving it. You're done.
What were you doing while y'all had gotten married? He's in training. What did you do after high school?
After high school, I went straight into college.
Okay.
I started summer 1 immediately for prerequisites. You know, I had him and he helped me so much, like educating me, getting me to where I needed to be. And I was like, I'm smart. You know, I mean, you know, I'm like, I can
do this.
I can do this. Wow. You know, so I started summer 1. Summer 1 at community college. He was going to University of Arkansas at Little Rock. And, a spot there happens where I started having seizures.
Okay.
I started having seizures in my summer 1 of college. They were not medical seizures. They were pseudosomatic seizures. Okay. Pseudosomatic seizures are emotional. Mock seizures. It didn't affect your brain, but it's from trauma.
Oh, wow.
I got out of the truck one night. He was taking me home. I got out of the truck one night and I hit the ground. Next thing I knew, I was having a seizure. It scared everybody, got me to the hospital. They couldn't find one thing wrong with me, but they kept coming and they kept coming and they kept coming. But it's not from the trauma from my father. It is from different trauma. I'm sure it all collectively had something to do with it.
Yeah.
But I had trauma from being a 12-year-old. I was sexually abused at 12 years old. Mm-hmm. From 3 of my father's friends.
Did anyone know that?
No.
Your mom?
My mom suspected, but I would never tell her.
Was this a one-time event or ongoing?
One time.
Okay.
They were all together?
Yes.
So these seizures, is that what brought it back up to you, kind of?
Yes. That's how they found out. That's how my parents found out that what had happened. They told me in the hospital under medication when I was having those seizures, I was talking about it. It was like coming out and I was out. So under whatever medication they had me on to help.
You disclosed.
Yes.
But you knew that you were not telling them. Like this wasn't something that you forgot.
I knew I wasn't.
You knew it.
Correct.
You didn't want to tell them.
Correct. I was afraid of being punished.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I'd snuck out with a friend so she could go see her boyfriend.
Yeah.
And everyone was drinking, and I drank a little bit, and before I knew it, I didn't have a choice of what was going on.
Yeah.
And it kept happening. Yeah. So not only did that happen, I was dumped in a creek with water, no clothes on whatsoever.
And you were a baby. You were 12.
At like 5:00 in the morning, they were done with me and they dumped me off. So I had to walk home that way. Since then, everything changed until I met Gary. So for a few years, I was heck on wheels.
So did the police get involved?
Yes.
After you disclosed after the seizure.
But there was a statute of limitations, but it made it worse. What made it worse is they, of course, were questioned.
Yeah.
And then not only were they questioned, but they harassed me over it. So their parents and it's a small town, their wives or girlfriends or whoever they were with at the time, they would see me, they'd try to fight me. They'd holler at me, throw stuff at me. It was a nightmare after that came out. And they were after me, you know, like.
Well, your fear that you'd be punished if you said anything, you were being punished and you didn't even mean to say anything.
Right. So that,
you were still a child.
Mm-hmm. So that all happened whenever I was trying to move on with my life.
So that happened at 12.
Yes.
And here you are, what, 18, 19?
Trying to go to college.
When this comes out.
Yes. 17 years old. I was in summer 1. I graduated early. At summer 1, I know. Summer 1, 17 years old.
So 5 years later. Okay.
Yeah. And this all just kind of
came out.
Like, you know, light brings out the darkness.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was not fun for some time after that.
What did that look like on your new marriage? Yeah. That's like...
That was before we got married. Okay. I was 17. He stuck it out with me.
Okay.
He was so strong. He stuck it out with me the whole time. And I ended up going to school in the fall. Even after all that happened, he went to school in the fall. And then that was the year he decided to join the military. So by May of 2003, we were married very quickly. We decided we didn't want to leave each other, and he wanted me to go with him, and I was not staying.
Without him?
Without him. Mm-mm. So we got married, and in May, by July, he had finished his basic training. I packed everything I could fit in a little bitty Nissan Sentra and drove to Fort Gordon, Georgia.
And so how long were y'all there?
A year.
Mm-hmm. So bring us to there. Were you drinking, using anything, or just smoking pot? I mean, he failed a drug test at some point, so.
The occasional college smoking a little bit of weed here and there. Nothing serious, no pills, no methamphetamine. No, just the, I guess, teenage stuff.
Were you working or just going to school?
Just going to school.
Okay.
I was never able to keep a job.
Even then?
Even then.
Like, why?
Well, I was very sensitive.
Okay.
So if my feelings got hurt, or if I felt any of that pain
of rejection,
whatsoever, I ran.
Okay.
So even before addiction kept me from keeping a job, but even before then,
the rejection was steering the boat.
Yeah. Anything emotional, if I started sensing anything emotional, pain-wise, around anyone, I was gone.
Okay. Mm-hmm. All right. So where are we now? Y'all are married. He's in training. Mm-hmm. You're in school.
Yep. We're married. Moved. So, of course, did not go back to the same school. Chose to follow him. And we were in Fort Gordon, Georgia for a year. I mean, really just having fun. No one was doing anything. The military guys hang out, come over to the house and stay the weekend because they didn't have anywhere to go. And we were young, 19, 20-year-old kids.
Yeah.
And so we were having fun. We had money, living it up.
Life was good.
Life was great. Traveling a little bit. And we went home for Christmas, and not only pot was happening, but meth. We started using meth.
When y'all went home for Christmas?
Mm-hmm.
Home, Arkansas?
Yes.
Okay.
From Georgia to Arkansas. Just, little stuff here and there, but it didn't stop there.
Did y'all take it back with y'all? Well, like you carried the habit back with you?
We carried the habit. Yeah. So the habit changed from meth, which is available very in abundance in Arkansas, to Georgia, where there's a lot of cocaine. And, so the habit changed into cocaine and us using, and he was already getting in trouble. So we used cocaine all the way driving back to Arkansas from Georgia, leaving the military. We get to Arkansas. The next 6 months was Hades as well.
When y'all were back in Arkansas?
Back in Arkansas from Georgia. He had gotten out of the military, started working with his father, laying brick, and we were using meth. his friends were using meth. So when we get back to Arkansas and we start hanging around the people that we left, when we left,
Your crowd had definitely changed from hanging out with the Army people to
yes,
the meth people
we get
in
back
Arkansas.
home and our friends that were just dabbling or smoking weed was all on meth. You know, like it's not 20, 21 years old. The whole crowd of people I knew were all on meth.
Yeah. And back then it was all the people making it from the farm.
Yes.
Like anhydrous.
Yes.
Yeah. Strong.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I say it like that because I couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
Threw me into psychosis so much.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
At any time when you were doing the substances, did you stop to think or like connect that you were doing and drinking and using the same as your dad had?
Mm-hmm.
Did that make you feel any way?
Made me feel connected.
Interesting. Connected to him?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
You finally found something you could connect with him, but not talk to him about.
Correct.
Yeah. But you knew.
I know that sounds very odd, but I'm like,
no, actually, I can see that.
So how long, so you come back, you're doing meth, how long till you realize like, okay, we got a problem here. Like I can't, like I'm addicted to this stuff. I mean, did that happen or
well, it started.
You were having fun?
I was having fun for a while.
Yeah,
You know, I was having fun for a while. And it started becoming a problem when it was starting to throw me into psychosis. I started freaking out, you know.
I was the same way with my drug use. I was always freaking out 10 times better than everybody else.
Me too.
It was not fun.
I like that you said 10 times better.
I laugh at it. Me too. And it was like, it was miserable.
Yes.
So that is when, but I would still want to use, expecting it to be fun. Yeah. And the girls are getting together to clean house and whatever.
Y'all were going to be super productive, and that is not what happened.
No.
You were spending all your money to be crazy.
Yeah.
Yes. Been there.
Did that start affecting your marriage?
Yes.
Just your psychosis, or y'all using together?
The psychosis, really, and using together. But what really affected our marriage is I was stepping out of the marriage during
when y'all were using.
Yeah, and before.
Okay.
I was never faithful.
Okay.
I wasn't.
All right.
I was at first in high school.
Yeah.
And then when that door was opened and it was a mistake, it didn't stop.
Yeah.
I had been honest a couple of times.
And he was okay?
It was hurt, but he didn't go anywhere.
Right.
You know? But when the drugs scene started, that's when it was like all bets off.
Wide open.
Well,
Wide open. And he wanted to start leaving it alone and go back to school and do something with himself, and I did not. So I was living my life the way I wanted to.
You
with
were
us
living
in the
your
same
life
house.
as a drug addict.
Yes.
And you can start using together, but it never ends well.
No. And the chronic alcohol started whenever we divorced.
And so when was that?
2007.
Okay. Were you still using meth, or did you just, okay.
So were you involved with like a crew that was cooking the meth? Or you were having to buy it, or like were you working?
I didn't have to buy it.
Okay.
Okay.
I had family members that made it, and I could go by and get high and go on my way. Or if I had a little $25, they would really hook me up, and me and my friends would be on our way. And so it's very cheap for me and very accessible at any time.
I can't even imagine.
6, 7, and 8, it was like everywhere.
Yeah.
And they were making it like they were making it like crazy, and all you had to do was go buy a couple ingredients, and then it was still easy to do that. Nobody was really watching it.
Yeah.
And drop off a couple of ingredients and come back however long later,
and you were good.
And that's it
for a while, because it lasted.
Yeah, days.
All right, so y'all, all total, y'all were married for how long?
2003, 2007. We're married 4 years.
Okay. So y'all divorce.
Any kids?
No.
Okay.
All right. So you start drinking. Lead us to from there.
I started, went from one relationship it went right into another. Before we were separated, but not divorced. So for 6 months before my divorce was final, I was already in another relationship with someone who always had meth.
Dope.
Drugs. Yeah, pills. That was the first time I'd ever took a pill was, with the next guy. So it just went from worse to, I don't know what's worse, horrible. From worse to horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I was just strung out with this next guy, and then remorse and guilt and shame and condemnation from
a failed marriage.
And
grief.
So how's this affecting like your relationship with your mother, your father, your brother? Like, did they know what was going on?
Yes.
They did.
Did they confront?
No. They just knew. And so they turned their back on me, is what they did. Just chose not to have anything to do with me, not help me, not
offer help.
No.
So they rejected you.
Mm-hmm.
Again.
Mm-hmm. I'm not, what I kept hearing is, I dealt with all these years with your father. I am not doing this with you.
Okay. What about your brother? Anything?
My brother, if I needed him, he would come pick me up. I didn't ask him for much. I didn't really have to. And he was young and he was in college during the biggest beginning of addiction. He was in college off doing his thing, and I was still pretending that I was not using and, getting high and showing up all dressed up. Just.
We thought we looked really great.
We did.
And I don't, girls and guys, I know that we all thought it.
Oh, yeah. Yes. Heels to
horrible.
A basketball game and jeans and heels and,
You were doing it.
Yeah. 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 But I was trying to support him regardless.
Right.
Yeah, but they knew.
Well, you said it earlier when you just said, when we asked about your brother, you said you were very intentional with him. And so how is that not paying forward? Like when you needed him, he was there. Like you still.
I've never thought about it that way.
Like you sewed into that, even if that's not it wasn't for what you could get. You just knew it mattered.
Mm-hmm.
And so y'all's relationship wasn't hindered as much as your parents. I'm not saying it wasn't hindered, and I'm sure it was. Drugs and alcohol will definitely stop our relationships. However, maybe not as broken.
My brother walked me down the aisle when I got married.
Recently?
Yes.
The last one. Okay. Yes. We're going to get there.
I know. Okay.
I was like, wait, we're not there yet.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So you're drinking, you're using, you're now divorced, you're in another relationship. Where are we? How long did that relationship last?
5 years.
Did you marry this one?
No.
At any time we hear about the addiction, what about abuse in the relationships?
My first marriage, never.
Never. With Gary?
Mm-mm. He would be verbally, but he was tired of me, I feel.
Right.
Or tired of the situation.
Weren't you tired of you?
Yes.
Yeah. We get tired too of ourselves.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I was tired of me, but I didn't know how to do what to do about it.
Yeah.
So the abuse started with Sean, which was my second relationship.
And that was the 5 year. Okay.
Yeah, that was the 5 year. So the abuse started. That was the first time I had gotten pregnant, and the abuse caused miscarriage. Okay. So
added that.
Mm-hmm. Added to it.
Yeah.
Then came crack cocaine into my life. My alcohol. It was awful. I lived.
So you were in your 20s?
Full-blown addict.
Yeah.
Yes.
How are you affording your drug and alcohol habit? Just men?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. All right, so
friends, men, you know,
whatever
family.
that used
Whoever we were going to go visit, you know, if they had they're having a party, we're party crashing. We're going to go do their stuff.
Yeah, pretty much.
I didn't have any money. I never had a job.
Right.
Or you know, the second one for sure he was just a thief. So he supported us by stealing gas cans and for the car to get around, and you know, breaking in his grandma's house for food, or yeah. And that's what he was used to already. So that's how I survived with him.
So how did that come to an end?
That came to an end by my alcohol use. It ran him off. It was so bad that it ran him off.
So when you say you were in chronic alcoholism, what does that look like for you?
I was drinking whiskey every single day. I had several arrests for public intox, battery of a police officer. Every day I drank. And I didn't just drink to drink. I drank to...
blackout.
Yes.
That's what you were looking for.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Any jail time?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How much? Like, what was the longest you spent?
The longest I've ever spent was like 11 days.
Okay. That's not jail time.
Well, I've never been to prison, but
no.
11 days in jail feels like
forever.
But if you went 32 times.
Yeah.
What?
Yes. I've had probably 40 arrests.
Huh.
I've had
misdemeanors. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was nothing but
I was
God.
a regular.
They knew you well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Through 2 to 3 different counties.
Were you being bonded out, or did they just let you out?
Bonded. My grandparents.
Okay. The grandmother that introduced you to church.
No, my mother's mother.
Your mother's mother.
Mm-hmm.
So any time during all this dysfunction, and did you ever try to stop?
Yes.
Okay.
Starting after the miscarriage, when I was 23, I went to rehab for the first time. I had hit a bottom with crack cocaine.
Yeah. It'll do it.
Well, thank you there. But yeah, I was like, this is a whole new life.
New level.
Level life, and I had it. By the time I was 23, 24 years old, going to rehab, I was desperate for rehab.
Yeah.
I was desperate to get away from him, the life. I didn't like it. I didn't like the living like thugs. I didn't like getting in trouble. You know, I didn't like it.
You didn't like the consequences?
No.
At all? Mm-mm. So how long did you stay in treatment the first time?
21 days.
How long did you stay sober after it?
Maybe 60.
That's pretty impressive.
Mm-hmm. Maybe 60 days, because I went from rehab into my mother's home.
Okay.
With the boyfriend. She allowed him to come in with me on of course, there's terms and conditions.
Oh,
and, you know, all the things.
All the guidelines. Yeah.
So that was the first rehab.
All right. So how long till the next one?
Maybe a year or 2.
Okay. Were y'all still together?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So how long? Y'all stayed together for 5 years?
5 years.
All right. And your alcohol drove him off.
Yes.
How did that end?
I don't remember.
That's all right.
No, to be honest. Mm-hmm. I know that I went, my grandmother that introduced me to the Lord, we ended up moving from my mom's house down into her house because of my mother was strict too. So we couldn't really be adults. So
you couldn't do what you wanted to
do. But you know what, adults have a 9:00 curfew, or that was in my thoughts.
Right.
So my grandmother needed help. My grandmother liked Sean. And so we moved down there and stayed there for 3 years.
Okay.
And that's really when the alcohol really exploded. I stayed loaded.
Yeah.
Were you still? Did you get back smoking crack?
No.
Okay.
Not during that time. I tended to move from one thing to another until I hit a bottom with it. And then I hit a bottom with it and go to rehab, get out of rehab, stay in rehab, clean 30, 60, maybe 90 days if I was lucky, and start in something else I found.
Yeah.
Before we go any further, let's take a minute to address the man or the woman listening to today's episode and wishing for a better life. Or maybe addiction has completely overtaken a family member or a friend.
You are not alone. As you may know, the Jesus Loves Addicts podcast is produced by the Home of Grace, a Christ-centered addiction recovery program in South Mississippi with over 60 years of experience.
The Home of Grace has residential programs ranging from 30 days to 12 months. With 2 separate campuses for men and women, they are fully staffed with caring individuals who want nothing more than to guide you to a life of recovery.
Services include individual and group counseling, marriage and family counseling, classes, workshops, GED, and workforce training, all grounded in biblical principles.
And because of donations from the community, the cost of the program is incredibly affordable.
Thousands of alumni from across the country can tell you there is no other program in the world quite like the Home of Grace.
If you want to start a new path to recovery, don't wait. Speak with an admission specialist today. Visit homeofgrace.org or call 833-55-GRACE to talk with someone.
That's 833-55-GRACE. Call the Home of Grace today.
So what do you feel like happened? Like if we were to fast forward through some of the relationships to what does that rock bottom look like that brought you to where you are currently 5.5 years, like not the same person, not going back after treatment center, after man, after doing these things? Like what does getting to that brokenness bottom look like for you? And what did that cost you?
I was tired about 2017. I was tired.
And you're still in Arkansas?
Yes,
Okay.
Still in Arkansas. So by 2017, I mean, I'm fast forwarding through even the second marriage just to get to that point. I was serious. I wanted sobriety. If there was anything out there for me other than what I had experienced the last so many years, I wanted to find out if it was there for me. And at that time, I had some people in my life to encourage me to be encouraged that there is more. And I started going to AA and going to NA, and I got invited to a church, so I started going to church and little things like that. And things did start to progress. I had a little studio apartment. Someone gave me a little Honda van. I mean, things were really going in the right direction.
Yeah.
And what I wasn't taught was about compromise. I was not taught about how important it is to have compromise. And I was not also explained to during this NA and AA and had mentors around me how to get honest.
What it looked like.
What it looked like. They would say, you just have the incapability to be honest, Josie. I'm like, I don't know what that means. What does it mean? What does it look like? What am I being dishonest about?
Right.
I didn't understand.
For you thought I'm sure you really thought you were being honest.
I didn't know how to dig.
Right.
So that ended up in compromise of another relationship. Another drug, which was one I had let go of but had picked back up, and that was opiates. Yeah, so I had a real bad opiate addiction and during my second marriage. That's where opiates came in my life, during my second marriage.
So for like prescription from the street? Okay.
No, prescription from the doctor
The end of the Roxy years.
It was hydrocodone, but the stronger ones. It wasn't Roxy or nothing.
Okay.
No, but that's where it started from. I'd settled down with someone and was doing right in 2012. So 2012, I met someone and immediately attached. He was civilian army. He worked for the army, but was a civilian. Had a nice house, nice car, nice things, and he liked me and
you liked him. Because
stability. I had a chance. I thought,
it looked healthy.
It looked healthy until it was not healthy.
Until it wasn't. Yeah.
So you were going to the doctor and getting pills.
After I'd sobered up from many years of chronic drug abuse, alcohol, wrecks, physical abuse, I started having like pain. My body was hurting.
Yeah.
So I go to the doctor and I'm like, I don't know what's going on with me. My body hurts all over. I'm just, hurting all here and there. And they just started prescribing me drugs.
Shocked.
I had a cabinet full of drugs.
They don't do that anymore.
Yeah. No, but 2012,
they did.
They were.
Yeah.
And I had Xanax, and I had hydrocodone, and I had Adderall.
What is it, a pill for every...
Yeah, it was a pill for everything. Prozac.
The doctor alcoholic addict. That's what I'm thinking. Whatever you needed. I'm stressed. I'm going to go take a Xanax. Well, I really need to take a nap. I'm going to take a sedative. I'm going to... Whatever you needed to do. You were your own doctor. Yes.
Ambien.
Yeah.
Yes.
Who needs Tylenol when you've got a Lord out?
I had a whole cabinet of which one do I need for what.
Right.
So that's what happened during my second marriage.
And so how did that end?
That ended. We lived together and were together 2 years before we got married. Best friends. Things were great. I was not drinking. I was not drugging. Thought I was sober.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I thought life was normal. Things were going good. Had a little part-time job that I actually was keeping. And 6 months after we got married, he started cheating on me.
There's that rejection again.
And here come the alcohol right back in the scene.
You knew how to fix it.
Yeah. I didn't want to.
You didn't want to feel it.
And I didn't want to go there, but I did. Yeah. I didn't want to go. I didn't want to. I fought it. I remember fighting, like, I'm not going to go drink. I'm not going to do this. I've made it too far this time, or, this or that, but it happened. And when I did, of course, I went all the way. I smashed a tree and a truck in a tree, and so that went really downhill. Whenever I found out he was cheating and found it on, phone bills at the time, and he didn't deny it. And he just completely turned against me. Before I found out he was cheating, that's how I suspected it.
Because something had changed.
Yes. Something had changed. What had changed was I was having a hard time conceiving. And he wanted children. And went to fertility doctors. And anyway, so that's what changed.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
It changed
how he felt.
It wasn't happening fast enough, or maybe not at all. I wasn't sure.
Right. And that brought up a whole lot of feelings for both of y'all. So that was the end of that marriage?
Yes.
So that was 2012?
Yes, I was with him from 2012, and we divorced 2016.
Okay. So you're off to the races, drinking.
Yep. Drugging, drinking. Oh, by then I had a little everything in my life. So by then it was anything.
You didn't care.
Or all of it at the same time.
Yeah.
It was pretty bad. So by 2017, I became an IV drug user. Tried it for the first time.
IV meth?
Yes. IV pain meds.
IV anything. Didn't care. Okay.
I really didn't know what I was doing, but that's what it turned out it was. So one time I had done IV opiate. And then I had tried IV meth.
Any
and
overdoses?
Huh?
Any overdoses?
Mm-mm.
Praise the Lord.
Mm-mm.
So how long till you hit the bottom? Once you bring IV into it,
Oh, yeah.
Goes down pretty quick.
Yeah. So bottom was after 2017, I made a compromise. I met the last boyfriend before the long bout of the Lord and me and the Lord. I had a miscarriage, another one, due to abuse. I was with a guy, doing great, let him in my apartment. He started, wanting to fight with me because he wanted to start using. So he started using, then I started using, then we were both drinking and both using, and I ended up pregnant. I knew I was pregnant, and he deliberately abused me in my stomach, kicked me. I mean, he was mean. I'm talking about this one was the worst I had ever encountered, like evil. He was evil. He was even trying to haul me off in the back of a van to get rid of me. And all I could remember doing was saying, God, if you're real, help me. I put a hedge of protection around me. I still really didn't even know what that meant, but I was starting to go to church. I'd learned some things.
Yeah.
I had some community by that point. And so it was... He ended up going to jail. I had a miscarriage, went back into the bar, went back into drinking, IV drug use all the way until I remember someone told me, Josie, we cannot help you. God can help you. And I was like, no, he can't. What do you mean? He doesn't hear me. Mm-hmm. He has never heard me. But when I was so tired of it, I remember sitting in a shower with a bottle of whiskey, and I'd been up for days, and something happened in that shower. And I remember laying in there and screaming and crying and begging, if you don't take me, heal me.
One or the other.
One or the other. Kill me or heal me.
Something's got to give.
Because I cannot. If you're real and if you hear me, help me. 3 months later, by lots of intervention, I was in Mobile, Alabama.
From Arkansas. And so that was 2018?
19. May of 2019. I pretty much hitchhiked down here. Series of events happened.
Series of unfortunate events.
That's true.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's a long time between 5.5 years, so 2019 to now. What did that process look like for you?
Staying, sitting, listening, letting people who I came to trust and showed me love and showed me nurture, I allowed them to help me live my life for a while. Tell me what to do even in the very beginning. All those, I was the rule follower.
Yeah.
I was the rule follower. When I grabbed onto structure, it changed my life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I'm just going to guess. You were at the point where you were just done.
Yes, I was.
You were just beat down, and you didn't care what it was going to look like, but you needed something not like the life that you were in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's the best place to be. It's a painful place to be, but yeah, that's the best place to be.
Well, if you look at the first thing you said was, I was raised in chaos. And then 2019, when I latched onto structure. You were raised into chaos, but that is not what you were meant to be raised in. Like we're not, chaos is not supposed to be our familiar, but it had been yours for so long. And when you latched onto structure, and the rules and letting someone else, well, you already realized you didn't make great decisions. None of us did. I needed someone else to make decisions for me. How about you?
Yeah, for sure.
He's like, yeah.
So tell me about, sobriety. Yes, great. But tell me about, so you had been going to church. You already knew the gospel at this point before you got to 8 Mile?
No.
No. Okay.
I didn't know the gospel.
Okay.
I had literally just started recognizing God's presence.
Yeah.
And started having a hunger for the word. So literally all I had read was like Proverbs.
Okay.
And
That's so cool to me, though.
And started incorporating Christian worship music in with the secular music, and the secular music was starting to be faded out. I was really headed in a good direction, that things were starting to be, the world was starting to be faded out, but I was teeter-tottering.
Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm. So you get to 8 Mile, you're following the rules, you're feeling better. So you were all in on whatever this was down here, or like, so there was no life to go back to back there?
No.
Yeah, you had totally, this was a completely new chapter.
Yes.
Yeah.
So you said you stayed. What does that look like? You stayed, you did 90 days there. You applied, you went to, we talked about, you went to the grad dorm.
Yes.
I want to hear about your prayer box. I know we don't have a whole lot of time, but I want you to talk about that and just how you latched onto that and how that has played out in your own personal life. Like, tell us about your prayer box, Josie.
During the program of the 90-day program, during one of the chapels, we had been brought these little prayer boxes, and we were told to take sticky notes and write prayers on the sticky notes and put them in the prayer box. So I wrote down specific things that I had felt in my spirit that I was promised.
Okay.
And I know she's excited about the prayer box because throughout the years, I get the prayer box out and show which prayer has come to pass. Yeah. Like, I wrote them all. I have not even added to the prayer box in all the years. But as the years have went, the prayer box, it's like things have been coming to pass, even to the smallest detail of the Lord had told me that my husband's name was going to be Philip. So I wrote spouse and put Philip.
Wow.
And his name is not Philip. His name is Toby. But a friend of his one day walked up to him and said, "How you doing, Philip?" And I was like, there it is.
Yeah.
His name is Toby, but they call him Philip because of the disciple, Philip.
Yeah.
So I
mean, even down from a car when you didn't, she had no hope of that. You went.
This is really cool because I'm sure most of the stuff that we pray for, we forget that we even pray for it, and then we get it and we just don't even recognize that this is God's moving in my life, So that's really cool. I like that idea, prayer box.
Well, and one of the things, if you think, so you talk about pray big prayers. Some of us, it's hard when we start praying, like, is this for me? Like, I've made all these mistakes. Like, you put in there a house.
Yeah.
Okay, but what happened 2 years ago? Like, what did you do?
I bought a house last year.
Bought December. Your own home.
Yes.
Me too.
The one that couldn't hold a job.
Yes.
Because you'd be rejected, so you quit.
Yes.
How long have you been at the job you're at currently?
2.5 years.
And that's what it's all of that. Like, I get really excited. I'm like, I want to hear more about the prayer box. Why? Because you weren't afraid. Once you were all in, you didn't back off of the process. The process is not always going to be pretty. It's not going to be fun. It's going to really suck sometimes.
Well, and when the curveballs of life come, like they always come, right? you have to have those. There's a guy that I work with, and he calls them faith files. You have to have those things filed away that you could pull out when you start thinking crazy about God's forsaken me, or like, hey, like what's going on. You can be like, no, God has showed up in this instance, in this instance, in this instance.
Forgetting on his benefits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like back in the Old Testament, they used to make like monuments, and they would pile up rocks. So when they would bring their kids by like years later, they could be like, no, this is where the Lord showed up.
Yeah.
So we don't forget about it, because we will forget.
Faith files.
Yeah, faith files.
Prayer box, faith files. All right.
So there's more in the prayer box, but stay tuned.
So tell me about your husband. So
good.
Y'all recently got married.
Recently got married November 9th.
Amen.
I met him last spring at Truly Grace Church. And I didn't know he was there, but he had seen me. And I don't know what happened. Like, he said, I sent him a friend request. I never remember sending this man a friend request ever. But I noticed that this person was like liking all my things and, trying to be seen,
Well, you saw him.
Yeah, and I seen him, so I was like, I don't typically message guys or anything. But I was like, I'm going to see if I know him. So I sent him a message, hey, do I know you? And he was like, no, maybe in passing. He never told me he'd ever seen me. So we started talking there, and 2 weeks later, we had decided that we would meet at church first, face to face. So we did that twice, and then we ended up having first little date was a public lunch.
Yeah.
And so it went from there, and we knew immediately.
Amen.
Yeah, we knew after like 3 weeks. I just looked at him one day. I was like, don't you? And he's like, yeah. We knew. And there was no like, let's wait 3 years. We knew. We just knew.
You knew that you knew that you knew.
Yeah. and when God does it, most couples know. They do know immediately. There's no questioning. There's, yes, let's get some wise counsel first. Pump the brakes a little bit, but we already know what we're going to do.
All right.
Mm-hmm. But he is definitely, the Christ in him is more grace and more mercy and more than anything I could ever have thought of or imagined.
On your own.
On my own. For sure.
That's beautiful.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, speak a little bit about this women's group that you do.
Yes. It's Empower Her. I call it Empower, but...
Empower Her.
Yeah, Empower Her. So, that last spring, really, just the kind of launch of that is how me and Toby met. But me and a friend were deciding that women need a fellowship. Women need to get together outside of just Bible study and
church.
Outside of church, and get together and encourage each other and not feel like you're competition and all those things, to build relationship, to learn to love other women. It's to learn to love other women and not be insecure around them, not be fearful or intimidated.
It's funny you say that. As a man, and this is just an observation that I have, it seems very common for girls in recovery. A lot of them don't like other girls.
Because they've been hurt by other women.
Right.
They're threats.
Yeah. That's good. That's really good.
It's a threat. Survival of the fittest in the street. And then when you bring them off the street, it's still survival of the fittest until the renewal of the mind takes place.
They can realize that life's over with. Oh,
I've always thought of it as, because in doing intakes, the sheer number of women that would sit in front of me and say, oh, well, all my friends are guys.
Yeah.
I don't like women. I don't get along with them. No, that's not that. You've been hurt by women. That's what it is. You've been hurt by women. And as a woman, you have probably hurt other women.
Yes.
But I felt like the enemy has long used that because how much, like you doing Empower, he used it against us to keep convinced that we're against each other. We're not in this together, because how much stronger are we together when we're empowering each other, when women are lifting up men need to lift men up, you know?
And it's solely, of course, Christ is in it. And of course there's prayer and a little bit of worship, but it is designed to build.
Disciple.
Yes.
I've seen pictures. It always fell on weekends that I had something going on. But y'all have been doing it on the Ocean Springs Front Beach. I've seen the flag worship, like it, and it's looking like it's growing. So that might be something we can look in.
That's awesome.
It'd be perfect.
Yeah.
I'm excited. I had a little sabbatical, but I am.
Well, you had to kind of go get married and stuff.
Yeah, I kind of had to date and kind of be courted a little bit. But he did help me on the last one. He grilled all the hot dogs and, he did everything. He unloaded, loaded, cleaned, everything served.
I love your story, Josie.
Thank you.
I do.
It has definitely been a journey.
Yeah, I bet. So is there anything you would like to say to the people listening that we haven't covered?
Yes.
Okay.
If you find yourself in a place where you can be kept, and you find yourself in a place where God can abide, stay. Walk through the process. The ugly, the painful, it's worth it. When you're being kept in Him.
Amen.
It's worth
You're
it.
not missing out on anything.
No.
Yeah.
Don't run.
Don't run, because most of the time you're only hearing lies to make you run anyway.
Right.
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Amen. Well, I think that's all for this episode. Something that Josie said really stuck out to me. People are telling her that the solution is God, and her answer was, God does not hear me. And I know some of you listening and watching that resonates with you, that God does not hear you. And you're saying that because of what's going on in your life. And I just challenge you to start thinking that you are still breathing. God cares about you. And it might not look like it right now, but He is involved in your life. And He's actively working to draw you near to Him. It's just painful sometimes, and it's uncomfortable sometimes. So the sooner we can submit and go towards Him, the more comfortable that it is. So God sees you and He hears you. So I just want to thank you for listening. If you haven't yet, please subscribe. And be on the lookout for our next episode of Jesus Loves Addicts.